engine
Welcome to another video, boys. The new mini set just came out, so now it's time to see what are the best performing decks after that. We also saw some nerfs to Paladin as well, so let's see how that affected the meta. As always, I'm gonna feature 5 decks, but I will also give you all of the other working archetypes for each featured class, as well as the ones I didn't feature, so stick around. For the 5 decks, you will see a Mulligan Guide, with and without the coin, win rates, and if it's worth crafting, so I hope you enjoy the video. Before we get into the decks, I'm extremely happy to announce that this video is actually sponsored by Opera GX, the first browser for gamers. I'm super hyped Opera GX offered me this sponsorship because I'm actually using the browser myself, and it really feels like the browser for gamers indeed. It has a ton of cool features, including the GX control, which actually limits the resources your browser can be using, meaning that you can be playing your favorite game while using your browser as well, without worrying that your browser will be eating up your RAM, like some other browsers. You can actually also check what is the processor and RAM usage for each tab, and you also have a hot tab killer, which is gonna remove any tabs that are actually eating up too much resources. You have network limiter, RAM limiter, and also CPU limiter. Another very cool feature is the integrated Twitch tab, from where you will never miss your favorite Twitch creators. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, by the way, just letting you know. You also have an integrated Messenger tab, Twitter tab, and even your Discord. So basically, Opera GX really has it all. You also have a player tab from which you can control your music, and if you're playing music and start watching a video, it will actually automatically pause the music so you can listen to your video in peace. And after the video is over, the music is gonna continue playing. Neat. Also, the Opera GX corner is pretty cool as well, where you can see what games are currently free, and you can also get a lot of other cool game-related news. As you guys know, I'm pretty big on the dark themes with red, so it's pretty awesome that I have control over how my browser is looking. And you have all sorts of other cool customizations, including all pages to be dark, which is a very cool feature if you're passionate about websites not blasting you with white light in the middle of the night. You can download Opera GX from the download link in the description, and I will do a 1-hour coaching giveaway for not 1, not 2, not 5, but you guessed it, 3 lucky winners. All you gotta do is download Opera GX and write down in the comments below #OperaGX, and I will do the coaching in 1 week from now. Good luck. Now, let's get back to the video. Alright, so the first deck on the list is gonna be this Deathrattle Demon Hunter I've been jamming to Legend last night. My boy Avelinon recommended it to me, and I did only one change, changing only one True Aim Crescent for an acidic Swamp Ooze, because I felt the meta is gonna be a little bit too weapon heavy. And what I really like about this list is that it actually lets you reach your mid game safely. We are running 2 Death's Head cultists, so you can get that much needed 8 healing with a fattish taunt. And you can also get it back from your Nazat, so it can be really good. We have True Aim Crescent, so we have a very good way of reliably killing off our Deathrattle minions, but you can also get free trades from it with your Ace Hunter Kreen, and let's not forget it has 4 durability, so you can even slap it in your early turns so you can ensure that you have it for the Illidari Inquisitor when you can coin it as soon as turn 7. Again, remember that with the True Aim Crescent, the minions will attack in the order you have played them on the board, dormant or otherwise. It still remembers the first minion you played, and after that, the next ones. So it would be really important, if you're gonna be dropping Ace Hunter Kreen that turn, that you drop another minion before Kreen if you're gonna be dropping one. We have the 2 Sigils of Summoning, which again allow you to really reach your mid-game safely. Yes, you do summon 2 demons out of it, and it is gonna be interfering with the Nazat demon, and you will not reliably be able to get your Illidari Inquisitor. But in a lot of matchups, you're not really gonna be playing for the Nazat, and even if you are, it's probably gonna be game over as soon as you play it, just because of the huge board presence you have. So yeah, against the Face Hunter, Sigil of Summoning is gonna be amazing, but against the Priest, you're just not gonna be playing it, are you? We have the Ardruid Naralex, which is an awkward inclusion in this deck, but I gotta say, it really got me out of some tight situations. Getting the Ysera Dream cards can be really powerful, and even if you just get a 2-drop 3/5 which is untargetable by spells, or even the 7/6 Dragon for 4 mana, you're still gonna be happy because that's a lot of value. You have the 2 Devouring Ectoplasms, which are pretty nice and sticky, and you basically get a 3 mana 5/4 out of it with an additional effect. And also the Fell Rattler is also pretty awesome, because the deck was really lacking some form of AoE in the early game, and this really covers it well. Because it's basically a mini Samuro you can cheat out for free. Other than that, the list is pretty standard, and right now it really does wonders on ladder. Last night we went 19 wins and 6 losses, which got me to top 250 legend. And you can even check out the VODs here. since there's no real similar list out there right now, I'm gonna go over another Deathrattle Demon Hunter so I can show you some sort of win rates. Face Hunter is shown to be a bad matchup for you, but it really isn't, just because you have the 2/4 Quillbores. Because the healing from those really stops Face Hunter in its tracks usually. Elemental Shaman wasn't that hard, even though we did lose to a few of those. But if you get your ooze and your healing, it's usually not that bad either. Rush Warrior could be a problem if they curve out nicely, but overall you should be good. Honestly, we had a good time against pretty much anything, but then again, the sample size of only 25 games is not that big either. When going first, keeping one of the weapons is always gonna be an okay idea, with the Tusk Piercer being the better weapon obviously usually. Razor Boar is pretty MVP, and you can also keep some of the free mana Deathrattle minions as well. Don't get baited into keeping Skull too many times, especially when you're going first, because it's just not that important for you to be curving it. If you manage to curve into it, great, but you really shouldn't be crippling your early game just so you can get a huge skull later on. Depending on the matchup, Sigil of Summoning can also make a lot of sense, and also Illidari Studies can help you curve out nicely. When going second, the Ooze obviously becomes a lot more keepable in certain matchups, you know which ones. Archdruid Narlex becomes a lot better as well, and if you know you're gonna be able to curve out a few good minions early on, even Ace Hunter makes some sense. Against certain matchups, the Snack is gonna be pretty awesome, and Razorfen Beastmaster is always gonna be a keep too. Honestly, if you already have a good curve going, you can even keep cards like Alair or even the 7-drop Death Speaker. And in this case, Skull becomes a lot more keepable too, but you need to be curving into it and make sure it's in an outcastable position. Because if you get an Illidari Inquisitor or an Azad in front of it, it's pretty much never gonna get played for the discount. The deck is definitely doing pretty awesome right now, but I'm not sure that I can recommend you to craft it, because it's very expensive and I do believe it's in danger of a nerf. Illidari Inquisitor is just doing too much for too little, being obviously a better King Crush, which we all know is a legendary card. Other than that, there are plenty of other Deathrattle Demon Hunter versions out there, but also Lifesteal Demon Hunter is still pretty good in skilled hands. Again, this is some kind of a hybrid Deathrattle Lifesteal Demon Hunter, but also the classical Lifesteal Demon Hunter still gets the job done, but you really gotta be good with it to make it work. Next on the line is a class we haven't talked about in quite a while, Shaman, namely Aggro Shaman. We all knew that Aggro Shaman is kinda good, but it was lacking something very important. Card draw, and with Primordial Dungeoneer, that basically covers the problem. It's a very solid deck with huge damage outputs, and you can literally almost OTK people, especially if you already have the Doomhammer equipped. This list opts for the Wailing Vapor, which actually somewhat interferes with your card draw with the Primordial Dungeoneer, because you kinda wanna be drawing your Cagemaster Custodian from that card. But since these are the only elementals you're running, that way you basically guarantee that your Primordial Dungeoneer doesn't flop. The spells in this list are absolutely always nature spells, so you're always gonna be able to draw an extra card from your Primordial Dungeoneer, as long as you haven't drawn your elementals already. Other than that, we also have the Selfless Sidekick, which is a debatable card if you want to really include it, because you have so many ways to cheat out your weapon already, and by turn 7 you probably already don't really have a Doomhammer left in the deck. But yeah, if you manage to pull it off, it's obviously a huge tempo swing, because you basically equip that Doomhammer without the overload, and you're also sticking a fat 6/6 body as well. Here are the matchups for the deck. Face Hunter is gonna be quite the problem for you, which is the reason why this deck doesn't have even higher results, because everybody started playing Face Hunter again when the new mini set emerged. You can also see the Spell Druid is not gonna be too hot. Secret Libram Paladin and just Secret Paladin are also not that great for it, but thankfully they got nerfed, so you're not really gonna be seeing that many Paladins on ladder right now, even though they're still pretty okay. Elemental Shaman might be a problem for you, and also Rush Warrior is pretty close to 52, but everything else on this list seems pretty green, so you got that going. For the Mulligan Guide, when you're going first, you're gonna be wanting to curve out with your Wailing Vapor. And also, Primordial Dungeoneer is always gonna be a great keep for you as well. Rockbiter seems to be pretty high on the list for some reason, I'm not really sure why, but maybe people like to use it as early game removal. I don't know. Cagemaster Custodian makes a lot of sense obviously, and we also have Wandmaker pretty high too. Technically you could even tempo out Ghidra, in which case maybe the Rockbiter makes some sense, because Ghidra is gonna be very hard to remove early on. So maybe that's the whole deal with the Rockbiter keep, but I wouldn't really keep Rockbiter if I don't have Ghidra already. Lightning Bloom might make a lot of sense for you, especially if you have your Selfless Sidekick, because if you manage to cheat this out on turn 3, well, it's probably gonna be GG already. Diligent Note-Taker is not bad at all, and you can even tempo it out, so you can use the Spell Burst on turn 3, and also Inara makes a lot of sense in some cases, but I wouldn't keep her if I'm not already having a good curve with a 1 and 2 drop. When on the coin, the situation is pretty much the same, with Inara becoming a lot more keepable, and Stormstrike too. but other than that, everything else remains the same. I do believe that the Primordial Dungeoneer should be a lot higher in the list though, so keep that in mind. The deck seems to be doing pretty okay right now, and the price tag is not too high either. So yeah, maybe you will be okay crafting this one. Other than that, there are some more elemental heavier lists out there, but so far mainly the aggro archetype is working. Even though there is an evolve list out there which is doing okay, and also a heavier elemental list too. Next up, we have the new and improved Rush Warrior. Not that much has changed with the list, but we do have a few very good inclusions. Namely Crash, the new legendary, which is actually a beast, and you also start running Nazat, just because Crash is so good to get it out of it. Another difference here is that Claw Machine also started to make the cut, because it would be a pretty good thing to get out of your Nazat, even though you already have 2 bumper cars. But let's not forget you have your Watley as well, so getting an extra mech in there kinda guarantees that you're gonna have a good pull from the Ringmaster Watley. You can notice that the list is running only 1 Crab Rider and only 1 Wormhole Challenger. And also, we're not running Ogremancers anymore. So the Rush Warrior list basically got a little bit more greedier, so it has a bit more consistent late game. We still have the ETC God of Metal, so you can cheat out a ton of extra damage, but everything else looks pretty standard. Not too many matchups for it so far, but as you can see, only Deathrattle Demon Hunter and similar Rush Warrior lists could be a problem for you. For the Mulligan Guide, when going first, you will want your Athletic Studies, Imprisoned Ganarg, Bumper Car, and in some cases even Parade Leader, even though against some classes I would literally chuck it out. Wormhole Challenger makes a lot of sense in some cases as well, and also Stage Dive ain't too bad either. When going second, Wormhole Challenger again is pretty good, Imprisoned Ganarg, Parade Leader also is debatable, and in some cases you could even keep the Conditioning. But don't forget that you wanna be playing it on turn 5 if you want it to get ranked up, even though in some cases it does make enough sense to just chuck it out in your early turns. Athletic Studies and Stage Dive still make the cut, but everything else is probably gonna be a cut for you. Unless you're curving out into your Overlord Rune Tag, for instance, or even Watley in some slower matchups. Rush Warrior is pretty good, and it has solid results, but it's one of the more expensive decks out there, so keep that in mind. I'm not sure it's gonna get nerfed anytime soon, so you're probably gonna be okay crafting it. There are plenty of other good Rush Warrior decks out there, but you can also see that Control Warrior started seeing a lot more popularity due to the Grandmasters basically. The results for it are not that great so far, but you really have to be skilled and know how greedy you can be with the deck, so you can really make it work. So much for the decks with new cards in them. Let's get back to basic. And what's more basic than Face Hunter? Face Hunter really saw great results after the new expansion came out, mainly because people were trying to figure out new decks while Face Hunter was still going face. The deck is still pretty strong, pretty fast, and it has tons of damage. There's really not much to talk about it in this list other than the Knife Vendor and the 2 arcane shots, which are usually not a main part from most decks. This deck cuts the True Aim Crescent, which I really like, because you can cheat out tons of extra damage with your Trampling Rhino, but then again, the Knife Vendor pretty much does the same, even though it's kinda pricey. You can check out my detailed guide about it from my YouTube channel, so now let's move down to the matchups. Basically, any Priest is gonna be hard for you, and also Secret Libram Paladin is still not amazing for you, because they just heal for too damn much too soon. Also, Control Warrior and Rush Warrior are gonna be problematic, but other than that, you can see everything else is pretty doable or just great. Face Hunter is definitely worth the craft, even though this one is not a very cheap version of it, but the cards are definitely pretty good. I'm not sure if they will be nerfing Face Hunter anytime soon, but who knows, maybe the Rhino might get toned down at some point. Right now there's basically no other versions you can be trying out there, so yeah, it's basically Face Hunter or flop. And the last deck on the list is gonna be No Minion Mage again. After the new expansion came out, I did notice a huge spike in Face Hunters, so that is why I had pretty poor results with this list, but after things got settled down a little, No Minion Mage became pretty good again, and it's one of the best performing decks in top 1000 still. The list is still pretty standard, running only 1 Flame Strike and 1 Shooting Star, but everything else is pretty much the same. For the matchups, obviously Face Hunter is gonna be pretty hard, and Paladins are not gonna be too easy for you as well, but now after the nerfs, you're just not gonna be seeing that many of those. Token Druid can be a problem, and also Poison Rogue is pretty fast for you too, even though you could outsmart them in some cases. But yeah, everything else is pretty decent, including Aggro Shaman, which is straight up 50-50, and same goes for Deathrattle Demon Hunter. For the Mulligan Guide, when you're going first, you always want to get the Encanter's Flow, but also keeping Font of Power makes a lot of sense too. If you already have Encanter's Flow, you could even keep some removal cards depending depending on the matchup. But if you don't have Enchanter's Flow, it's probably gonna be a good idea for you to dump everything. If you do have the flow, you can also keep some card draw in the form of Arcane Intellect and Refreshing Spring Water. But again, if you don't have it, your best bet would be to check it all out. On the coin, same situation, Enchanter's Flow is king. Font of Power is still pretty strong, and Refreshing Spring Water as well. When going second, you can play it a little more conservatively, and even if you don't have Enchanter's Flow, you can keep some more suboptimal cards, but don't overdo it. Your game plan is still to get the Enchanter's Flow early, so you might as well give the game as many shots as you can. The deck is still pretty worth it, still pretty cheap, and still pretty strong. But yeah, I still believe that Enchanter's Flow should get touched at some point. If you want a mage deck above 50% win rate, you basically go for no minion mage. Anyway, that's it for the 5 decks, now let's check out the classes I didn't mention. Druid is still doing pretty good, with Token Druid at the top, but also Primordial Druid is seeing pretty good results too. But so far, we're not really seeing new card inclusions in these ones. For Paladin, you can see that Aggro Paladin is still pretty good, Secret Libram Paladin still, Managary Paladin, but yeah, the win rates definitely got toned down, which is a good thing for the game, let's be honest. With Priest, your best bet would be Control and Managary, but you really need to know what you're doing with Priest to make it really work. For Rogue, Miracle Rogue is at the top still, and I was thinking about including it in this top 5, but the skill cap for it is pretty high, and there are no real new card inclusions, so I decided not to. There is a Shroud of Concealment Secret Rogue in there as well, but all in all, so far the rogue lists seem pretty much the same. And for Warlock, you can see that Control Warlock is still probably your best bet. But there is a 50% Zoo Warlock list out there, but yeah, with all the Face Hunters and Aggro Shamans out there, you're probably just gonna help them kill yourself. So that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. Hope the video helps you pick your best new meta deck. A like and a subscribe would really be appreciated, and don't forget to check out Opera GX. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video, or stream.